Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Epi coming at you with epiCHATS number 10. Thank you all for listening and joining in. I have a very special guest with me today. Actually, on short notice, he spontaneously agreed after I hit him up on Twitter, so I'm extremely thankful. With me, Simon Handsken Haag. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing good. Thanks a lot. Now, I'm really excited about this interview. When I did the just informing myself ahead of time. A lot of stuff, but let's start off by congratulating you, man. You're now in Alliance, and I think like you've worked long and hard. Congrats, dude.
Thank you a lot. I'm really happy with Alliance, so yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
I can imagine. I mean, you've been in the limelight for a while now as well with Complexity, but Alliance would probably be a bit of a different caliber because it's so well known in the scene.
Yeah.
So for those of the guys that are listening right now and unsure or haven't heard of the new lineup, it's Loda, Limp, Yonasum Fun, EGM, and of course Handsken. Um, I don't want to take anything away from Complexity, of course, by congratulating you for joining Alliance, but let's get into my first question. You have previous experience playing together with of course, Limp and Yonasum Fun. You were
Yep.
together on NIP. Have you had any experience playing with either EGM or Loda in the past?
Well, not in like a team situation, but I've definitely like those are guys that I've known for quite some time, especially Loda. Like I've been good friends with him ever since I was on an IP. So yeah, like I played in-houses, pubs, whatever, but not in a serious uh like setting.
Okay. Is there an affiliation between NIP and, or was there one between NIP and Alliance? Was it like a same similar organization or something?
No, not really. But I mean, we were friends pretty much. Like two Swedish teams, we played each other a lot and met each other in LANs a lot, and we kind of became not close, but we became good friends. I want to say.
Okay, awesome. Could you speak a bit about kind of how did the whole thing come about? How did you end up in Alliance?
Do you want me to start like departing complexity or just after that?
uh, as whatever you would feel comfortable with. I'm sure people would love to hear as detailed as possible. So yeah, go ahead and talk about perhaps even the complexity way.
Well, as for complexity, um, after TI, me and Limp were pretty determined that we were gonna leave the team and if possible, trying to play together again. But we was kind of said to each other that we'll see what happens. We're gonna play with each other if we can, and if someone gets a good opportunity to play with like a complete team without each other, that would be fine as well.
Mm-hmm.
So going from there, I want to say even before we announced Complexity that we were gonna split up, I got contacted by Loda. We've been talking together before about playing with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying that he was trying to form a new team and he wanted to know what I was gonna do and stuff like that. And then yeah, I was interested from the beginning, and then we started discussing players, etc., etc. And then, as it turned out, he was gonna stick with EGM, and then we were looking for basically a mid and a offlaner then. And then we had a few options, but it became evident very quickly that we wanted to use Jonas,
Mm-hmm.
and then Loda initially had the thought that he really wanted to stick with Mickey, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I vouch really hard for Limp. I've been playing with him for a long time now. NIP and then Complexity and now Alliance. Even actually before this in Han, I played with him for a while. So he's probably like my favorite teammate, and that's why I've stuck with him, obviously.
Okay.
So I vouch for him really hard. And when he finally got the chance to try out, they all seemed to like him very much. So and it just became pretty natural.
Okay. Could you like who is the name that you said that Loda initially wanted?
Mickey, if you were watching the WESG tournament, the
Uh,
national one,
yeah.
we used him there. Um,
But that's his nick as well because I haven't been able to follow
yeah, he
those.
he hasn't been in the scene before.
Ah, okay, awesome. So essentially, you were on Loda's radar for a while. Then you looked for other. EGM was in the mix for sure from the beginning as well, as you
Yeah,
said. And then
they were
you
pretty
had
much
to.
locked together,
Hmm.
Loda and EGM. And then I think Loda and I pretty much almost from the get-go kind of under had a mutual understanding that we wanted to play with each other.
That's awesome. Oh, that's sick. So now, after you vouched for Limp and he was able to prove kind of why perhaps you were so adamant on having him in the team, how could you just talk to us about the team a little bit? Obviously, you must feel very confident. Do you think that is it too early to say anything about the play style, how it compares to Complexity and what you're used to?
Um, well, compared to Complexity, it's gonna be less five-man oriented, I think. In Complexity, we were known for having our sort of five-man death ball, always go look for team fights, walk around together sort of style. And I think we're gonna have a lot less of that here. I don't think that's where our players are gonna shine necessarily. We have a different play style, and but I still think we're gonna have like that sort of aggressive. I want to say like almost Han style, but not really because we have Dota veterans as well.
Hmm.
It's gonna be, it's hard to tell exactly how it's gonna look like, but we're gonna have a lot more playmaking and aggressive playstyle, I think, and we're gonna probably run Loda more as the true carry than it was on Alliance when they have Bulldog.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's still very early to for me to like expect a very detailed answer from you. But I asked because there was an interesting thing you mentioned in an interview where you said that on Complexity, when I think it was Nahaz, when you pulled up some numbers, there was a game where you had pretty much very even. I think gold and XP per minute.
Yeah.
Remember that? And
Mhm.
so that is not kind of what that's going to look like with Alliance.
I mean, if you can, you want to achieve that, of course, but I think that it's not really what the style promotes, I think. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. I definitely think it's gonna be a lot different from Complexity, but whether which direction that changes, we're just gonna have to wait and see, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah, all right, man. That's fair. Do you have any information, like, I mean, when it was announced or clear that Alliance would have some changes, it was hard for a lot of people to imagine Loda and Ake splitting up.
Yeah.
What was the deal there?
Between those two,
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if it's like just why Ake is just has decided to just not be part of it.
well, I don't really know the entire inside scoop, but I
Hmm.
think that they they had been playing together for such a long time, and naturally, when things don't go well for a longer period of time, well, admittedly they had a pretty good year, but they were not happy with their TI run, I think, and maybe some time before that. So maybe they just felt that they had given it all for a while and they needed a change. I'm
Hmm.
not sure whether that was from one or the other, but
Hmm.
that's what they like sort of decided on. I don't think there's any bad blood between them at all.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of just them deciding that it's time to try something different.
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Like I'm sure, as you said, they're gonna still be great friends, but they did try really hard for a long time together. So it sounds very
Yeah.
reasonable for them to just say, "All right, let's try it." Awesome.
I want to say though, I think it also, I think that well after I think S4 made the initial uh, like decision to leave the team, and then Bulldog left as well, and then sort of the entire thing about Lodenaki came along. I'm not really sure, but I think that's how it happened.
Okay, yeah, all
Something
right.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, judging from just the past, like people also assumed that probably S4 would be the most willing to switch teams. Just
Yeah,
that was
because
kind
of
of.
Secret and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Now, an interesting thing was how Complexity, Chessie and Limp brothers in real life, Swindle and Z-Freak brothers in real life. Chessie isn't playing with you guys though. Is there any background information you can share on that Limp and you are playing, but that now Chessie, that combination is broken up?
Well, it's actually a decision made purely based off his physical health. Um, Chelsea's taking a break until at least until the next major because I'm not sure how much public recognition it's been getting, but his a lot of his health issues has been getting worse and worse throughout the year. Initially, when he came back from his break, um, he was doing really well. He was hyped to play. He did very well. He did not have a lot of problem at all playing. But then later on, his back issues came back. He had trouble with his wrist and chest and a lot of physical problems that he had that inevitably like stopped him or prevented him from performing at his best. Uh, his best form, I guess. So
Sorry to hear that.
he just wanted to take a break to focus on himself purely and stream, I think. So he's not going to pursue any competitive career at all until the next major.
Oh man. Well, best of luck, Jesse, man. Get well soon, man. Take care of
Yeah,
yourself.
I mean, I would have liked to play with him again if I could, but you gotta focus on the right things in life, I guess.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing, one thing I notice is that, especially when I talk to you, you are you're very polite and you're very responsive too, and that I think is one thing I'm not very used to. I think because pros are they have so much shit going on that they don't really have the time to, well, or they're just, I don't know, annoyed at interacting with people a lot. So what I'm getting at is that you are relatively new to like the huge big limelight.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
are you or do you still view yourself in that way, or are you like completely used to it? How the intention has been?
I mean, I don't view myself as an amateur anymore. I view myself as a professional for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Although, like, if I compare myself to the big names, I'm like, I'm humble. So I'm not there yet. I haven't been top 5 at a TI. I haven't done all of these things that you can do to really prove yourself. So, like I'm climbing. I'm making my own journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big chapter you started right now. I mean, for sure. I mean, no one can take away that you've proven yourself as a top player. That's for sure. But it was I came to that question because in an interview you said that the LAN that you won with NIP was like your most fun experience up to that point in that interview.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
is it still the same way, or has like a TI changed that a bit, even though you were just attending, I guess, after?
Nah, TI was not a proud moment for us, I think.
Mhm.
X Games is definitely up there because that team I played with was one of probably the team that I enjoyed the company most out of the most. Like
Mhm.
they were all people that I considered myself to be really good friends with.
Mhm.
Um, all of course the Shanghai major when went then we got the top 6 with
Yeah.
complexity was pretty good too, but it doesn't beat the X Games still, I think.
Okay, that's interesting, man. Cool. Mm, so let's talk a bit about the TI6 experience. When you think back to the qualifiers, it's correct. Like you went the whole distance in the qualifiers, and then you lost to Digital Chaos 3-2.
Yep.
When you think back to that time and that match, does anything like what's the first thing that kind of comes into your mind?
Um, Anger actually,
Oh shit.
because well, anger, disappointment. We had some really good chances of making it through that qualifier.
Hmm.
First of all, we beat EG and DC in the best of the ones,
Yeah.
and losing to FTL, which made us. Then we had to play the tiebreaker.
Ah.
Um, so well, FTL, not no disrespect to them, but we should have won that game for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
Um, and then we played a tiebreaker against EG. We had a really good start in that game. I think we 5-0'd them before the game even started, like in hero kills. And then we ended up losing that game due to poor calls and poor strategic decisions made by all 5 of us. We did not play the game as we should have. And then also the best of 5 against DC as like the icing on the cake, I guess. We made a really strong comeback, and arguably we threw a game we should have won there too. And so you can't really be too happy about that. But in the end, we made it to the wild card, so we at least we made it to the tournament. So I'm not sure what to say really. We were not happy with it, but we sort of got over it pretty quickly, I think, and then moved on to the wild card.
Mhm. The match against DC, when you say, is it so? When you think back, it's all pretty much decisions that lost you the game. It's not like you said, maybe it was a shit draft that cost us a few of the games. It was all just in-game stuff.
For the best of 5, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, the best memories that I have from that match is the last game, and in that one, I think that stress and like not being calm costed us a lot of that game. I think that people made a lot of stupid mistakes that they wouldn't have got done, if they were calm. Like we were, like I can remember people were yelling and screaming at each other and getting hyped and getting negative, and we were just a mess as a team.
Hmm.
So a lot of mistakes occurred, like dying without buybacks when you didn't have to, stuff like that. Basic stuff that you would know after playing all this time. So I think it's sort of in a sense choking, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Um, when after the your TI road kind of ended, did like the, I guess, team talks, did they happen at the event still, or did you guys wait until afterwards to like see how the future is going to look like in complexity?
Um, I the full team talk, I think never really happened.
Oh.
I think Chessy went to see his girlfriend after TI,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had been talking to all of the players individually, mostly to the Swedes because I'm closer with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a pretty good idea of what especially Limp wanted to do, and then we had a talk, the four of us, everyone except for Chessy, and then we sort of uh, like everyone said what they wanted to do, because we were in the house and he wasn't there,
Hmm.
and then we sort of or me and Limp said that we were going to leave. Uh, they wanted to convince us to stay, but that was not going to be an option for us.
Mm-hmm. And when would you say that the games you played at in Seattle, did they kind of break something? Because you said you didn't really have like, was that conversation, like, was it worse than others, and you weren't able to sort things out afterwards as well?
Um, I think actually the team was broken way before that, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to say after the Manila Major, the team was, we still tried really hard, I think, to play. We got a coach. We tried really hard. We scrimmed a lot, but it felt like we did not believe in it fully anymore, like we used to. The fire was gone, I guess.
So when you talk about this, what was there moments in a game where you would realize when you would be down a few kills or something would happen where you would just know that everyone is now kind of expecting the game to go bad? Or how did you kind of observe and get the idea that something that was there before is now gone?
Well, to be frank, we had a huge incident at the Manila Major in the group stages.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was, I don't really want to go into detail regarding it, but that was probably the weirdest shit that ever happened to me in a team before, and it was during a match in between games.
Oh shit.
Uh, yeah,
Sounds interesting.
as I said, I don't really want to talk about it, but that definitely completely ruined the team, in my opinion.
Oh
After that,
fuck.
we were not gonna be able to get repaired again.
So something happened, a conflict, and
Yeah.
from your perspective, you're like, "This is weird shit. What the hell is going on?"
Well, kind of. I felt that was, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it without giving out details, but
Hmm.
I I think I knew already back then that I wanted to leave the team, but
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't because of my teammates and TI and everything.
Okay. Well, fuck. Everyone's listening right now is thinking, "Oh, Epi, you gotta, keep digging." Yeah. How do?
Let's just say that some of our personalities did not function well together, and yeah, I
That's
don't know.
fair. All right,
Yeah.
dude. That's good. That's good. Now, I can actually piggyback off that pretty well because a lot of one thing that I found extremely interesting about your guys' team is that you put a big focus on things like coaching, on things like getting professional third parties involved that help you with certain things. Was that due to the fact that you guys just believed in that part being important because you fucking needed it because you had weird conflicts going on a lot of the times?
It was a mix of both, I think, where people had different opinions about matters like that. Some people thought that we did not need it at all,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a waste of time and we should not be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, especially management, thought that we needed it to sort of repair our issues a little
Mm.
bit.
And what do you think about it?
I think that it was extremely helpful to us. We would have done even worse if we hadn't done it, I think.
Oh, cool. What were like the few people or instances where you think back and say, oh, that was a really good thing for us as a team?
Well, Nahas was a really good thing for us as a whole. Even though our result did not reflect on it, he was super good to us, I think. I would love to work with him again if I could. He truly understood all the individuals and their perspective, and he could sort of mediate in between all of them to make it work a little bit better. And then another thing that was really good for us was we had a guy called James come from the IMG Academy. IMG Academy, I think it's called,
Mm-hmm.
which is a real sports academy. They do stuff with baseball, basketball athletes, anything like that, Olympic athletes,
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And they coach them in mental fortitude, communication, leadership, anything like that. And he was at our house for a day, and I think that really put our minds to perspective, and we viewed things a lot better after that.
So, is there any big perspective, influence, or change that that guy has had on you personally? That you could share with us?
Well, he taught us about stuff regarding like your setup, how you play, um, like how things affect you. He taught us something called the decision line. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted us to every time we scrimmed and played a match, we had something that symbolized um, seriousness, sort of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So whenever we had this line in our house, so he said whatever it is you come up with after you walk this line, you got to become serious, and then you get to stick with that. And we did that for matches, and it helped us, I think. And then he sort of made things clear. He brought up topics that we hadn't discussed before, like how does it impact you, or how does it impact the team when emotions rise and like getting hyped, getting loud, stuff like that. And he brought that topic to discussion, and then we sort of realized that not everybody in the team liked the sort of thing that when things are going well, you get loud, you yell. I'm sure you know already that Kyle Swindles especially likes to get hyped. He gets loud. He almost stands up in his chair while playing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as it turned out, that was not the general. How do you say? That was not the general
I.
theme of the team. Like not
Ah.
everybody enjoyed that sort of energy while playing.
Yeah.
A lot of us thought that, especially me and Limp, I think, thought that it made us actually play worse, and we do not want to have any of that.
Didn't think it had
Uh,
a place in like a professional game environment to get super like almost aggressive hyped when you're doing well.
I mean, I think it has a place in professional gaming. It's just not something for me, at least.
Uh huh.
It's not for everybody. You have to sort of do what fits your personality, I think. And what I wanted was to do something more like an EG style. Like after EG won TI5, they were almost like they're standing up in their chairs, they hug each other a little bit, and then they were super calm. Like because they sort of leave their emotions out of it, sort
Mm-hmm.
of.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that would help me perform even better as well if I had more of that, I guess.
That reminds me of Moon Meander. He said the same thing. He mentioned EG and said that they were very stoic when they won,
Yeah,
and that helps him. And he thinks it's important to have that attitude in scrims and games.
yeah, definitely. At least it's not for everybody, I want to say, but it's for me at least. I think it would be that's how I want to play. Like every time we played in complexity, some people would get hyped, some people would yell, but I would kind of be the guy that constantly reminded people to like, hey, chill, we gotta focus on strategy. What do we do next? Like we
Yeah.
don't need we don't need reassurance, stuff like that.
Ah.
We need
Okay.
to think about the game, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you? So now I have two general attitudes in mind. So we have the guy that gets hyped, like let's say No Tail from like 2 years ago,
sure.
and then let's say you and Moon Meander. Is there any other like personality type in game that you could that comes to your mind that you could describe, or does that kind of sum up the spectrum?
I mean, I don't think it sums up the spectrum, but I think mm, I'm not really sure. Not somebody that I can come to think of
Hmm.
like just on the top of my head.
Yeah, for sure. You also said that this guy came to talk to you that that works with just more traditional professional sports
Uh-huh.
athletes, let's say, and he's probably from that kind of special boot camp that you guys went to before TI.
We actually did not have time to go to it because of visa issues and stuff like that, but he came to our house instead.
Oh shit! You actually didn't make that happen. That's too bad.
No.
Now that you mentioned, I do remember something about that coming up. Did is he the guy that you allured to because you said someone that is has a specialty in psychology a bit? Is that him?
Uh, let's see. What are you referring to right now?
You said in the interview you're going to a real cool boot camp house where you're going to have
Oh,
sports professionals, psychology
yeah,
professionals.
that's that was the plan that we were going to do, but then it happened that we had to cancel our visa appointments
Mm-hmm.
to go to the TI qualifier. Um, our plan that we had was pretty optimistic, so we were kind of banking on the fact that we were going to get a TI invite. That this plan was made even before the Manila major happened, and then when that sort of went to shit, we had to change plans a little bit, and we eventually did not have time to go to their facilities. So instead, we had to bring them over to our house only for a day instead of maybe a week or two.
Mm. Apart from this specialist coming in to talk to you guys, was there any other like third party people and Nahaz, of course, that helped you guys out? Do you have like a sports regimen, nutrition?
Not really. Oh well, depends on how you look at it, but we had Josh and Beef. They're working for Complexity. Josh is our or was our personal or team chef. I guess he lived with us, and then we had Beef, our manager, and they gave their advice, but they are not professionals in that sort of way.
Mm-hmm.
But well, but they definitely helped a lot, I think.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I missed one thing because you had a very rough time against DC, which is now going back to the qualifiers for TI, which is really interesting because, of course, Digital Chaos ended up doing extremely well. Does it does that make you extra kind of disappointed because you know that if you were able to beat them and it could have just as well been you guys having that spectacular run at TI?
Um, Not really. I think I I just think we had a lot of issues with them because they kind of figured out our style. I don't think even if we would have beaten them
Mm-hmm.
and we would have made it into the main event, I'm not sure that we would have done just as well as they would have. I, I'm not, as I said before, I did not have huge beliefs in the team after a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we like with a good run, we put ourselves in the Shanghai major,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like things like that can happen, but I want to say that it would have been more likely that we would have been around the top 12 to 9 area, sort of.
Did the other thing that I missed was when you then watched the event from the sidelines, in terms of hero picks and meta. Was there anything in particular that A surprised you, or B that you found particularly memorable now looking back to it?
I was super inspired by Ehom's draft. They brought in heroes like Kanka, Undying, Ogre, heroes that we had not seen a lot going into the event.
Yeah.
Um, and then also DC actually they inspired me a little bit in the way that they drafted stuff like nobody else would do either. Skyrath, mid, Jakiro.
Shakira.
Morphling was not really a big hero before TI either, and they made sure that everybody had to ban that hero against them in
Yeah.
one way or another. And then, of course, you can't forget to mention Wings. They're just uh, they did their own thing, and that goes to show how far you can go with just trust, I think.
Yeah. The trust factor is something that you also rank very highly.
Yeah, I think so. I think that for complexity, for example, our trust levels were extremely high in the start. Like we all trusted each other, we had confidence in each other, and therefore we did real well. And later on, we sort of lost that, and that also sort of um, reflected on how we played and our results.
Hmm. One thing I noticed in the interviews with you is that I get the impression that you also have a very mature view on things because you say stuff like, you explain to the interviewer that being on a Dota team is pretty much it is a relationship, you know, and it
Yeah.
does have its ups and downs and stuff. So if we, with that in mind, and we think about that large conflict that you talked about at the Manila Major, do you think that is something that with the proper support perhaps could have just you could have worked through it and even gotten out stronger, or is there types of stuff that happens that just just doesn't work if people are too
Um,
different?
let's say we compare it to a real life relationship, like, so I think the case was more something like you wanted to break up with somebody, or
Okay.
the team rather, but you had already made obligations. So, you know what I mean, right? Like we had to play TI. You cannot leave before that because you would
Mm.
disappoint yourself and your teammate. You would lose an opportunity.
So it's
But you were,
like a huge event you need to go to, but you want to break up with your girlfriend, but you have to kind of go before
yeah, you
you
have
break
to,
up.
yeah, pretty much, right? Something like that. That's a pretty bad way to see it, I think. But at least for me, inevitably that was the case. I'm not sure. I can't speak for my teammates, but for me, that was definitely the case.
So that's like how you felt. It was you had no interest. You wanted to change.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. And Zfreak and Kyle, how are things gonna move forward for them? Do you have any idea? Because let's start with that. Do you have any idea what's gonna happen?
Um, well, yeah. Well, I have a pretty good idea. I think I can confidently say that I know four of their five players that are gonna
Mm-hmm.
play for the team. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if either one of the two brothers or both of them change roles for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, I think they're gonna try to stick with the team house idea if they can.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Zach, I know that he doesn't want to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
At least not for now.
Okay, I realized obviously that after I asked the question, shit, I of course you're not gonna say any names and stuff. That was not my intention.
Well, I mean, they already kind of messed up and leaked them already.
Ah, okay. I'm then
Uh,
not on top of my game. I was busy researching your stuff, I guess.
well, I think both Cancel, right, the
Yeah,
Romanian player.
yeah.
Both him and Kyle leaked uh, the news on Twitter and Twitch. I think Kyle was streaming on Twitch, and then he had a chat log open with some player from NA, and then he basically said there that they were gonna use Moo and Cancel for next season, and then Cancel tweeted it as well, and then later removed it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw.
So
Yeah.
well, technically it's not me spilling the news, but I'm pretty sure that means something.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for letting me know. I'll do a better
No
job next
worries.
time. Um, and now since the two are brothers, looking back, how well did they do in when it came to conflicts?
Um, Not very well, I want to say.
Hmm.
I think the difference between the brothers in how the brother pairs
Mm-hmm.
in how they what do you say, like
Kind of
how
handled
they
themselves.
handling conflict was very different. Kyle and Zach, they were always very loud against each other,
Yeah.
and they would have they would yell against each other and be aggressive and say very offensive things to each other, and then later on they would be they would still be fine with each other later on, but it would sort of rub off on the team, I think, without them noticing.
Hmm. Um, how did the other pair handle conflict? More in private or just not
Um,
as
more
offensive?
pri more private, more passive, I think. If they didn't really have those sort of issues, they would say to each other, but they're Swedes. You know the stereotypical Swede. They're very passive aggressive if they have to, and like in general Swedes, and I don't know. You're not as honest with each other if you
Uh-huh.
have an issue.
I mean, you are on an all Swede lineup now as well, right? Alliance is all Swedes. I checked, I think.
Yeah.
Does is that how big of a factor is that?
I mean, I think as far as the language goes, it's a big plus, but I don't think it's necessary at all. It's not the biggest. It's not going to be a huge advantage. I think it's it's pretty cool to be able to be confident in your own language. But most of all, it's about culture and how like you can relate to each other much better, and you sort of understand each other because you're raised in a certain area and you have maybe some beliefs and whatnot. I think you know what I mean, kind of.
Yeah, culture is just similar and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah,
I do, before I get into just, I guess, the last few almost off topic questions,
sure.
I wanted to give you a chance. Before we do move on, you mentioned how eHome and also DC impressed you a bit in terms of what they drafted. I'm sure there's a few hardcore Dota fans out there that would love Pro Player to elaborate on that a bit, because you mentioned like the way they, I think you mentioned Kunkka and Undying, for example, that eHome
Yeah.
drafted. Could you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Well, especially for eHome, I think that their drafting style was extremely sort of set. Like if you get this, you take it. If you don't get it, you take this. And it's almost always seemed to work out. And they had very set counters to heroes. I think PPD explained it in his drafting videos a little bit as well, but there were just sometimes they would pick a Warlock instantly if they saw a certain hero. And what inspired me was that they were very you know, they were just set in their ways and they believed it truly, I think. And that's what they made them really good. But that also sort of maybe why they eventually dropped out of the tournament, because they stopped believing in it and they tried some different stuff, I guess.
Okay, so it can be once they were very confident in their ways, you say, and then when they realized it's not working as well as it needs to work, they changed, and then that was kind of their downfall.
Yeah, sort of. I think that's probably a little bit of truth in it. Obviously, I'm not an eHome, so I can't really speak about it, but I can definitely see something like that being the case.
And okay, I think that'll satisfy the guys.
Okay.
EG, because now I want to transition a bit into just general shuffle banter or talk. I mean, for me personally, it was a pretty big announcement, especially PPD moving on. What were your thoughts on the new? Like, what are your thoughts on that, and also the new EG roster?
Well, this is stuff that we're almost certain of were gonna happen, just based on rumors and what you hear from other players. Well, for Fear, retiring, that was not expected, I think, but it's understandable. He's been playing for so long. He achieved pretty much everything there is to achieve in this game.
Yeah.
And according to his statement, he had some physical issues as well that he wanted to take care of. And yeah, it's just time to do something else for him, I think. Regarding the new EG roster and PPD, I think that everybody had a lot of respect for PPD in his abilities to captain and draft and be a good in-game leader. But they did not get along so well, maybe outside of the game or in-game. It seemed like, that sort of, I think that, RTC and Psy going back and forth between teams sort of demonstrates that. And then, it seemed like they just wanted to make a team with, of course, very, very talented individuals, but also more of like a friendly group of people, sort of like a gang. They often affiliate themselves as the boys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They have the sort of common, or they have the mutual respect, and they just have the, I don't really know what kind of word I'm looking for, but
more like a friendship type of thing.
Yeah, and they're just a gang, sort of.
Yeah.
In a friendly way.
Yeah, for sure, man. I definitely. And so it is a star-studded lineup, and Crit has performed out of his mind in many OG games. Could you talk a bit about how you have seen Crit and what you thought of him over the past while as a player on OG, and what you think about his potential as a captain, if anything?
Well, actually, before OG, I was very, very surprised that they wanted to pick him up for the team for OG. Because I kind of just saw him as one of the Danes. There's a lot of Danish players that haven't quite made it yet. A lot of them are in Imperial right now. There's a lot of good players there, but they never quite seem to make it. So I was very surprised that OG composed of very accomplished players with Fly, No-Tail, and Moon. They wanted to pick up
A
Crit.
Dane.
Yeah, pretty much. But then as it turned out, he proved me wrong immensely. At the Frankfurt major, he proved that he was one of the better defensive support players, and then at the different majors, he proved that he can do a lot of different things. He can be a roamer, he can be a defensive player, he can fill multiple roles, and to me, that's a very, very good sign if you want to have someone like that on the team. It proves that you can be good in different patches and you can fill multiple roles. And it is my understanding that he's going to play the position 5 role now and drafts and captain as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think he's going to be able to do it well. It's going to be there's going to be a transition period for sure, but I think I've gained a lot of respect for him. So I think he's probably going to be a very good choice for them, and they seem to have a lot of respect for each other. So I think he's going to do just fine. I'm not actually sure if he ever drafted or captained before in the Danish scene, but it wouldn't surprise me if he has, and then that's why he wanna do it again.
Yeah, that's one thing that surprised me, is that in the article they mentioned that he's like an accomplished captain, something like that, and I wondered like what they're talking about, because I didn't.
Oh yeah,
I didn't
I've
remember.
never seen him captain before either. So, but yeah, as
Yeah.
I said, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he has.
And when you look at just the players and how they have been playing, have you put any thought, or if I asked you kind of what you think the new EG kind of play style would end up being like? Do you have any general assumption?
Well, I think we know the identities of the players.
Yeah.
Artur he's gonna have to be the carry now again,
Mm-hmm.
and Samel is gonna be the same kind of explosive mid player kind of guy that does the flashy stuff, and Sai is gonna do what he kind of does. He roams, and I think Crit is gonna take the role of the kind of stereotypical PPDE player. Sort of, he plays the defensive heroes, like PPD Fly comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I think the identity of EG is going to be very similar. They might draft something different. I'm not sure, but the players, their identities are very set. So we're just going to have to wait and see if Crit wants to change that, or if he wants to sort of evolve into something different. He might want to play more of an OG style. Who knows? Like the OG played a lot of push, a lot of heals, sustain lineups. EG played a lot more around late game and sort of greed, and and those 4 players were all on EG in different times. So we're just gonna have to wait and see if Crit wants to change it or not.
Mm-hmm. And about the current patch, what would you consider currently being a very effective general? Like, what's the patch in your mind favoring, and what's important to take good care of?
I think draft is super important as always, but something that has been especially important through TI and just this summer is that in drafting you need to be able to you want to show as little as possible in every draft. I think that's why heroes like Potom, Sanking, stuff like that has been very used and picked, because they can fill multiple roles. These heroes that can play both a core, they can play a mid, off lane, and a safe lane role. Who knows? Like heroes like Juggernaut can also do the same. So that's been a very big trend lately, and I think that's what has been winning a lot of games.
Yeah, Misery talked about this in a recent talk, how he was pretty happy with the way he did some of the drafts. He did that with Naga a bunch of times, I think.
You sort of just wait for the opponent to make a mistake in the drafts, and then you click a button. Okay, now they don't have a counter for illusions. Okay, let's go for Naga or Terrorblade.
Yeah.
Okay, now they don't have they picked this core because they showed this, and now we can pick, let's say, whether like a Morphling, for example.
Yes.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Let's go quickly into the Alliance lineup. I'm sure you've, or I'm actually not sure. Have you had a round table kind of talk with all 5 people? And if so, how did that kind of go? Did you talk? Was Loda like the main guy talking? How was it?
We've been scrimming for I want to say like something like a week now.
Uh-huh.
We've been sort of taking it slow, but we have some small talks in between every game and stuff like that. And I think for the most part, it's me and Loda directing conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Limp is a very strong individual. He has his own beliefs. He takes a lot of space in
Mm-hmm.
every team that he plays for.
Mm-hmm.
And then EJM and Jonas are they're more the passive people, but they're very important as well.
So when you say space, do you mean in-game farm and also communication-wise?
Well, he doesn't really talk the most, but he sticks to his beliefs, I want to say, and it's hard to really describe him in that way, but he has a lot of how do you say? Um, I don't know. He's very set in his ways, sort
Mm-hmm.
of. So, yeah.
And okay. And was there like a general theme about the talks? Is there did you notice any, for example, any disappointment from Loda and EGM about just the way that their success and performance has been over the last while, and like an anxiety to now finally get going again about the whole thing? What was just the general feel like?
I think it's as you said, they're definitely trying to prove themselves again, and they have a lot of energy to do that. But it's more of hunger rather than anxiety regarding past results. I think they seem very excited to try something new and maybe try a different play style than what they have before.
Mm.
So I think they're very happy about this change as a whole, I think.
Mm. And I know it's very early to really have a very clear picture, but what would be, is there any things that come to mind when I ask you if what like the biggest differences would be in game between Alliance and Complexity?
Um, well, the new alliance are a lot more calm, I think. We have a lot of we have a lot mm, we have more quiet personalities, especially Jonas and EGM. They're more quiet. They're playmakers. They always sort of perform a task that they're given.
Yeah.
Um, in Complexity, we pretty much had four very strong personalities that took space and talked a lot, and we would almost get too hectic a lot of the time. Uh, and that would be me, Chessie, Limp, and Kyle. So I think just the biggest difference are you're not gonna be, or the new team is a lot less oriented about the entire team as a squad moving around together, or like it's a lot less free to sort of execute your own way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if you're given a hero and you're told sort of what to do, you have your freedom to play the way you want to and buy the items you want to, sort of, and like play the game you want to do to that you believe you can perform the best on a certain hero or a strategy. And in Complexity, it was a lot more strictly designed in the way that the captain wanted to do it.
Mm. So like what you're gonna be like, who you're gonna play not only, but also how you're gonna play and what items and stuff.
Oh yeah, and of course stuff like that are also subject to discussion. But in the moment, I think this team has a lot more freedom.
Mm. All right. I'm gonna slowly start wrapping things up, and before I ask you my last question, just want to make sure we talked now a lot about
Sure.
Complexity, how it developed, what the style was, kind of how it ended, how the alliance talks and the team formed, and how you perceive TI6 in general. I just want to give you the chance. If is there anything about these things that you would want to say something on?
Well, in this interview, I may have seemed a little bit uh, destructive or something like that about the Complexity team. Well, I just kind of want to say that I do not regret playing with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's pretty much it, I think. The only thing I regret about it is playing position 5 that I did not want to, and well, I'm back to playing 4 now, and that's something I made very clear to the Alliance guys as well, that I did not want to play position 5 again, and I
Oh
would
wow.
not be interested in playing if they would want me as a 5 strictly.
Oh wow. Is that is it such a big difference? It may sound ignorant coming from me, but I'm like, could you elaborate on that a bit?
It's just that I think that my playstyle works so much better as a position four. I'm more confident as a four player, and I generally take a lot of space in game. I make a lot of calls, aggressive movements, how to smoke, do moves like that. And I think that playing four enables me to do that a lot more, and it gives me confidence. I have a very hard time doing that if I'm playing a defensive support,
Yeah.
let's say. So actually, when the decision was made that I was going to play five for complexity, that was a huge sort of hit to my self-esteem and confidence.
Oh man, that's very interesting tidbit there. Awesome. Oh, well, the last question actually is something I always like is when you play pubs, does anything happen in pubs kind of regularly, recursively, that people do that pisses you off quite a bit, and they wanna tell me?
Um, Something that pisses me off a lot is that when people that when they flame you or they yeah, well, especially flame you and they treat you badly
Mm-hmm.
and then they realize who you are and
Mm-hmm.
then they treat you well again. That really pisses me off. Like it happened so many times that I'm playing on a Smurf or on my main account and they flame you and they say you're shit, you should never do anything, and then when they finally realize who you are, they become nice. So I don't enjoy two-faced people that much in pubs.
Yeah, but it's insane how even with pro players, they also encounter people that just think that they're the shit and know everything, right?
Yeah, a lot of people are very delusional in that way, and they don't take help or criticism in any shape or form.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I actually that reminds me. Puppy said, and it was like a stream or a highlight reel where he's like saying was like someone was criticizing his cause. He's like, you can like be in finals over and over in TI and be like a very accomplished captain, but in pubs they will still fucking treat you like you're shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is.
Amazing, Hanskin. I really appreciate the your approachability and that you gave me the chance to talk to you. And I wish you a lot of success on Alliance. And I look forward a lot to see how you perform with your friends, man. Thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you too.
Do you have any shoutouts now that we before I end it?
Um, well, just shout out to Alliance for giving me the opportunity to play with them. Yeah, I'm very grateful to be part of such a prestigious organization. I just want to make a shout out as well to some of the old people that don't really get recognition from my old call team, Beef and Josh, and then also a shout out to Fusi.
Amazing, man. All right, guys. That was Handsking. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.